Okay, yeah, I thought I had Brad's number. I just got a new phone and somehow contacts have not all been uploaded or something. But so I can't text him. Oh well.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure that he hasn't logged in. I don't see him. Um, but
But we have a
we
quorum
but
regardless.
we do have a quorum. That's the short of it.
Okay. Well, let's call the meeting to order then.
And I will just also interject that a couple of key people who are not here include those who regularly help with the minutes. So I may be sliding some things around on my screen a little bit more in an effort to keep up with folks.
Okay. Let's see. So I guess do we want to do introductions? This would be a day to do it, right?
Yeah, this would be a good day to do that.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll start. I'm Peter Danforth, Chair of Lamoille Blick, also the District Manager for Lamoille County Conservation District. And I guess we'll go Dean.
Dean Pierce staff. And how about you, Richard?
I'm Richard Goff. I'm alternate for Megan, and I'm on the board of directors for the Lamoille County Planning Commission.
Right
I'll
on.
go. This is Erin DeBreese. I'm the Conservation Director at Vermont River Conservancy, and I see Megan.
Good morning, Megan Rodier with Lamoille County Planning Commission, and Vice Chair of the BWIC. And I'll just state for the record that I will be abstaining from voting on two of the applications, which are LCPC applications. So
Thanks, Megan.
let's see, who else hasn't gone?
Dorothy?
Joanne Hanowski. I'm alternate for Chris Steele, representing the stewards of the Greensboro watersheds.
Good morning, folks. Ken Mink speaking. I'm not an alternate. I'm a full member from the Georgia Conservation Commission.
Dorothy?
I'm Dorothy. I work for the Franklin County NRCD, and I'm sitting in as an alternate for Lauren Weston.
Thanks. Trevor?
Trevor Corp, sorry, I couldn't unmute for a second. I am the Director of Buildings and Grounds here at the Vermont Studio Center in Johnson.
Great. Let's see, Karina?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yep.
I'm Karina. I am with the Caledonia County Natural Resources Conservation District.
Excellent. Let's see, Chris?
Hey everyone, Chris Dubin. I'm a transportation planner with Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission. I also help staff the Basin 5 clean water service provider and associated WIC, but I'm actually here to as an applicant today.
Thanks, Chris. Let's see, Dan?
Hey everyone, Dan Kahneman. I'm sorry, connectivity issues, so the camera's off, so you can understand me. But I am district manager of the Winooski Conservation District, and I serve as an alternate member for the districts.
Thanks, Dan. And I think Will?
Hi, everyone. My name is Will Marlier. I'm the Lake Watershed Program Specialist for Orleans County Natural Resource Conservation District, and I'm here as an applicant today.
Great, Will. Welcome. I think that was everyone, or did I miss someone? Did Joanne go? She went, right?
Yep, I went.
Excellent. All right, so welcome and intros. Dean, I don't have the protocols in front of me. Sir, do you happen to have those? Oh, there you go. Look at you. Johnny on the spot. All right. So yeah, I'll go through the Zoom norms, interdictions of all participants at each meeting, which we just did. As possible, book members should have in their Zoom name title the following: name, organization, voting or alternate, and pronouns if desired. Book members are expected to have cameras turned on during the entirety of the meeting as technically possible. Book members are expected to stay focused, avoid multitasking, and follow the guidance of if you wouldn't do something in an in-person meeting, don't do it in the virtual meeting. Book members will use the raise hand function on Zoom to indicate a request to speak. Come off mute. This is an effort to make sure all of us are heard in turn. All members will stay muted until called upon. If needed, quiz staff will mute participants to avoid background noise. And any comments made in the chat will be read aloud at the appropriate time by the quiz staff in full for public record. I think Megan, you said conflict of interest. Does anyone else have a conflict of interest today?
Yeah, this is Richard Goff. I will not be able to vote. I'm Megan's alternate. I will not be able to vote in her stead because I am a member of the board of directors for the LCPC.
Great. Thanks, Dick. All right. The agenda. Let's see. I guess we'll look at it. Are there any questions? Edits? All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So move. This is Erin DeVries.
All right, Erin DeVries, first motion. Do I hear a second?
I can second that, Ken Mink.
Thank you, Ken. Seconding that. All right, all in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
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 All opposed? Right. Hearing none, the agenda is approved. All right. Minutes, same situation. Last meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review these? Any edits? All right, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Erin. I'll make a motion to approve the September 2025 minutes.
All right, thank you, Erin. Again, first motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
This is
Okay, Megan. Thank you. And I was not at the last meeting, so I guess I will abstain from any edits or opinions about that. Do I hear, all in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 All opposed? And again, I abstain. All right. Onwards. Public comment. So, I suppose there are people who are presenting today who would they count as public, Dean? I guess they would, right?
Well, yeah, this is a spot that's held on agendas because of the open meeting law.
Yeah.
And anything that's not on the agenda, if somebody wanted to bring it up, they would have the opportunity. But yeah, it's fair game.
This is Erin. Sorry, raised my hand here. I wanted to just make a comment that the DEC Rivers program has two positions open. I believe the date to apply for those river scientist positions is today. So if folks know people that are entry level to senior level scientists that would love to be a part of the Rivers program, please send them to DEC's website and apply because those folks really need more people. And it's a great job. I'd love to work with more river scientists throughout the state.
Thanks, Aaron. Ken, you have a comment?
Yes, I don't know if Dean can do this, but I sent him an email regarding a mass failure on Mill River in Georgia, and I just would, if possible, like to throw that on the floor to discuss. Thanks.
And I got your email. I haven't had a chance to do anything with it. I was out yesterday afternoon. So I'm not going to be any help to you today. And I don't know if maybe this is something that folks would want to have some discussion of after the applications are addressed, and you could perhaps tee it up. But it would be at the pleasure of the board.
Sure thing. Yeah.
That sounds good. And announcements, basically, right? Okay, Ken. Any other comments this time? Okay, hearing none, I guess we'll go on to the next seeking of new representatives.
I was going to, yeah, this is almost in the way of announcements, but since it relates to seeding, this is, I was going to just update folks that the representative, one of the municipal representatives, Brent Sheets, who joined the board as someone from the town of Hyde Park, and then he changed positions, but he changed to a job that was still in the Lamoille town of Fairfax. So he continued in his municipal rep role. He just changed towns. It's my understanding that he's left that heard that or seen it in writing, but I have heard it on good authority. So there is, assuming that's correct, a vacancy on the municipal rep side that we will have to fill. I only found out about this on Tuesday, but I just wanted to mention that. And that's in addition to the realignment of Aaron going from a land conservation organization representative to a watershed organization representative, which is filling one of the two watershed organization spots that we have had open for a while since the resignation or retirement of Kent from Friends of Northern Lake Champlain. The only other thing I would mention is two people did join after we did introductions, Seth and Karen Bates, and I'm thinking this is Lamoille County Planning Commission Seth, but I'm not certain unless he has added his last name since he logged in, and Karen is here as well.
Your assumption's correct, Dean. This is Seth Jensen, Lamoille County Planning Commission.
Sneaking in. Good job, Seth. Aaron?
Dean, I'm curious if the QUISP has found a land and water conservation organization. I know VRC shifted into that watershed org slot, and just curious if you found someone for land
Not yet. We had a very good conversation with the chair of the board of the Northern Rivers, or Three Rivers Land Trust, and I had very high hopes, and then coming out of their meeting, they ended up declining. So the latest contact has been with the Jericho Underhill Land Trust and have not heard anything. So we have not resolved being down a representative out of the total of 9 yet, but we're working on it. We're just now not searching for watershed organization people. We're searching for land trust. We did confirm that Vermont Land Trust will stay involved, but they were not prepared to move up from alternate status to full status.
I did reach out, Dean. I'm just waiting to hear back from someone. They tend to be, there's a long arc with them. I've dealt with them before. I don't know why, but yeah. And it reminds me, I will check again. All right. Report on budget adjustments.
Yes. Yeah, this is a standing item and there are no adjustments to report.
Excellent. Now to the meat of it, application review.
Yes. And I will apologize. I understand from Megan that the link that was included in the packet didn't work. There were some spaces thrown in by Adobe, but hopefully if people weren't able to get it earlier, they were able to get it in the updated links that I sent out. I'm just going to do a quick intro. This may be a sensible order to do the project requests in. So total of 5 applications, a stormwater preliminary design, floodplain restoration final design, a floodplain stream restoration implementation, a couple of those, and a riparian buffer planting, with the requests ranging from pretty modest, roughly $7,000 to more ambitious $137,000, although that's a small part of a much larger whole where there's funding coming from other sources for those. And I think with that, I would just turn things over to folks to make presentations of their applications, which would have Chris, I believe, going first.
All right. Thanks, Dean. Can everyone hear me? I guess, can I share my screen, Dean? I was hoping to show at least that map. I was hopefully everybody was able to review this application. This started with a landowner who I actually have known since college, way back in the day, that was looking for funding to stabilize a gully on his property. We determined that through working with Dean and Karen Bates that it would be an eligible project under clean water, under the Clean Water Service Provider funding. Let's see if I can share my screen. Oh, thanks,
Yeah,
Dean.
you should be able to.
There we go. And let's see, is this what I want? There we go. And Dean reminded me a nice map is always helpful. I doctored up an original map from Watershed Consulting. So we were able to hire Watershed Consulting, a consulting firm that we've worked with for various water quality projects, to do some sort of preliminary findings. And that was a report, a very short report included in this project. But effectively, Range Road is a paved municipal road in Underhill. Off of that, there's a private road, South Hill Road, and there is some stormwater sort of BMPs or infrastructure, traditional, roadside ditches, a drop inlet, a cross culvert, a ravine on 15 Range Road property or Dan's property. There's another small culvert that passes under his driveway, and ultimately, this yellow area is where the ravine has formed. This project has kind of evolved a little bit as we work with DEC on eligibility, but ultimately the core of this preliminary design ask is to develop a design for a gully stabilization, but included in that to kind of address and sort of mitigate stormwater flow to this point. Included in this project would be a replacement of that drop inlet with some sort of infiltration chamber or basin. If anyone kind of needs to get a sense of what those things look like, these are just some stock images and pictures that my consultant provided me, just to kind of give people a sense of what these infrastructure looks like, and just a basic stone a diagram, cross-section diagram for a very basic, stabilized stone channel where that eroded gully has formed. And that's really about it. This is again just a preliminary design. Oh, sorry. Phase for this project. I worked with Andres with Watershed Consulting, and my coworker Dan Albrecht to put together the application, and we're pretty confident in the cost estimates are going to be come in where we want them to be, and they're pretty realistic. So I guess with that, Dean, I will say I have not I help out with my BWIC, but I've never applied. So this is new for me, but I guess I'll open it up for questions and go from there.
Maybe jumping in, since Chris had mentioned the cost effectiveness, there was a table included in the packet. The cost effectiveness of this project would be around 47,000, and as he said, they're confident in the cost estimates. So if the phosphorus figures are on point, then the cost effectiveness would be about 47K per kilogram.
Yeah. Karen I think you had your hand up first. And then she was gone. Okay. Maybe Joanne, if you want to just until she. Oh wait, I think no.
Oh. I guess my question is does this address the source of the water flow, or does it fix the flow of water that is creating the gully? I guess I read somewhere that it doesn't address, the shape of the road and other considerations that may impact the water flow.
Yeah, so this is kind of a bigger conversation we were having with Karen Bates. And that's, again, what this additional piece of stormwater infrastructure is looking to address, this infiltration basin on that'd be the west side of the road. We have confirmation from Karen Bates that addressing stormwater on the town road is sufficient for meeting the clean water funding requirements for gully erosion, and we don't need to address anything further upstream on the private road or property. That's kind of where it was left with Karen, and again, we're trying to, hone in on a scope of work. So that's just kind of where it landed, I guess.
Hi.
And speaking of Karen, you're back.
Yeah, sorry. I'm dealing with two screens and I'm realizing that it messes up my camera. So I am here. I just wanted to go over the requirements for gully restoration in light of this project, showing the elements just so that people understand, because it's often a point of confusion. So the source of the stormwater is upland flow. Some of it is developed land. Because some of the flow is developed land, it fits under the stormwater management project type that includes gully restoration. So gully restoration is associated with stormwater management off developed lands. So some of the stormwater from the roads, from the houses, then makes its way through ditches to the ditch along Range Road. And then from there, now it goes under the road, and then it causes the gully. It's the source of the gully erosion. Because you're going to capture and you're going to treat that stormwater, then that becomes a stormwater management project. That is absolutely necessary. The first step in any gully restoration that's going to be funded through the clean water funds. So that's why I could check it off. Not all the water coming off of that slope, that area is going to be addressed. We really do need to deal with or talk to landowners about how they could maybe address stormwater before it gets to the road. And that's on my list. I've said I would be part of a conversation, and just waiting for a little bit of time to free up to be able to do that. But because the stormwater is being treated in a stormwater management practice for developed lands, and it's from developed lands, this project can work. There are situations where gullies are created by the movement of a river. That's not what this is. And that's not a project that falls under this category.
Thanks, Karen. Megan.
Part of my question, I think, got answered, but I guess, yeah, similar question about how have you guys or the landowner already explored just more simple practices like turnouts, higher up on the private road, check dams, that sort of thing? That'd be a little more cost effective than infiltration chamber system. So I'm just wondering if those have been explored already. I mean, I live on a private road too, so I know how all the stuff works.
Yeah. We went down that route a little bit, but I think we shied away from addressing sort of it's also like the nature of that sort of the topography. Like that's a large hillside, and I think that like you're gonna have to like all that water is draining to that one sort of nexus point right there. That's just kind of the direction of this project where we went. Like there's water in other ditches that are coming down the hillside from Range Road in addition to this private road as well. And I think that was also one of the reasons why we were looking to address all that stormwater at that singular point. But again, maybe that's something that the consultants can explore in this preliminary design. But I guess we'll certainly consider it.
I can jump in and say that Chris is absolutely right, that there is a ditch that one landowner is using to redirect runoff from their property, and that then drains to the road. And that project type isn't really a project type within the Clean Water Funds. So it would be difficult to have the engineer actually address it. That's actually one of those conversations, as I said before, I'm willing to have and will have with the landowner, but it just depends on their willingness, voluntary action, and it's might not actually happen, or their change in how they approach runoff from their property. We might not be able to have any impact on that. So that's why it's we should always have discussions with landowners within the watershed to help them understand how to be better stewards of within the watershed, but you can't make it happen. So I'm not requiring it to happen to meet the definition or the project requirements.
Dean, you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to add that there has been a tremendous amount of discussion behind this project going back, and I see Chris smiling, and maybe it's bordering on a wince because it's been maybe 18 months. It's been a very long time trying to figure out how to thread the needle for eligibility for doing something in that location. It's been quite the journey.
Yeah, and thank you, Karen, for like reminding me on exactly why uphill private road BMPs may not be used. It's just like to Dean's point, it's like we're just trying to navigate a way to fund this project. And that's kind of that's the answer that we got from DEC, that this is the kind of the best approach in order for it to be eligible, and that's just kind of where we've landed.
Ken, you have a comment?
Yes, Ken Mink speaking. I see some projects have P reduction for years gone by, and I'm not familiar with that with that process. So maybe someone could address that.
Regarding this project specifically or in general?
Well, I see some of the other projects have it, and I don't see it on this one, so I don't know the rationale.
Ken, when you say years gone by, what exactly do you?
As the project down the road P reductions is what I'm referring to. Not the initial
So, right, the number that really is the one that matters is the annual phosphorus reduction after the first year. So that's the number that we focus on. In the applications we asked people, it's probably not worth asking them, but we do ask them is what's the year one? Because sometimes the year one is different, but sometimes, or maybe most of the time, the year one includes phosphorus reduction that we can't even count. So it's from year two beyond. The other notes regarding this project just had to do with what the design life um, is because the application said 15 in one place and in another, but the more appropriate is 8 or possibly 10 for a non-regulatory project. But the cost effectiveness, the 2.65 is the rate, I'm remembering and got this plugged in correctly, it's from the year two and beyond. So it is the relevant number. It's the one that we would compare to other numbers for other projects. Hopefully that helps.
Okay, thanks.
I'm actually kind of impressed at the price tag. I've worked with Watershed Consulting on a number of these projects, and I mean, maybe it's the square footage or the amount of material, but it seems like maybe they're getting the idea that prices need to come down for some of these stormwater projects because they're just, the P efficiency on them is difficult, but it looks good to me. All right. Any more questions? Aaron, looks like you came off mute. No.
Yes, I was going to make a motion to approve the South Hill infiltration preliminary design.
All right. I hear a motion to accept this project. Do I hear a second?
I can second it, Peter. Ken Mink.
Okay, thank you, Ken, for seconding that. All right. All in favor of approving this project for QUIS funding, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right. Sounds like the ayes have it. Congratulations.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
That's in my neck of the woods, or where it used to be my neck of the woods, anyways. I'm familiar with that area. All right. Who's on the list?
I believe it's Megan.
Yes, I think it's the Vermont Studio Center project is next. So I do have some slides I could share. Let me just bring those up. Okay, can you see the slides? Yes. Okay, great. And can you hear me okay? Yes, I'm getting some nods. Okay. Great. So yeah, so I was just gonna share some quick slides, brief overview of the Vermont Studio Center Floodplain Restoration Project. And we also have Trevor Corp with us today from Vermont Studio Center. So after I just share kind of an overview, Trevor might want to say a few words as well in support for the project. So just wanted to allow time for that as well. So the Vermont Studio Center Floodplain Restoration Project is actually one that the QUIS funded for preliminary design. So the QUIS is invested in this project to some extent already, and we are looking to further this project to the final design phase with, I think, a modest request, just a little over $35,000. And so you may recall a while back, Alberto presented about this project too when it was entering the preliminary design phase. But it is located on the Vermont Studio Center parcel at 113 Pearl Street. It's right in the heart of Johnson Village. And it's along the Guion River, kind of just downstream from the Pearl Street Bridge. So that map kind of gives you a sense of the location. And Yeah, so it's right in the heart of the village where, you know, a lot of the flooding and a lot of the impact from especially the 2023 floods took place. This site is also a site where there used to be the former Johnson Town Garage, which I'll mention a little bit more later in the presentation. But just want to give you a kind of your bearings there in terms of where it's at. Wanted to provide a little bit of project background information. Again, some of this to some BWIC members might be a refresher, but so this project, we have the 30% designs complete now. We've worked with SLR Consulting on the 30% design plans. And so we've kind of gone through that whole phase now, and we're getting ready to close out that QUISP grant for preliminary design, which we will be doing by the end of this month. I know the grant ends at the end of the month. So we've, you know, pretty much met all our deliverables for preliminary design at this point, and we'll be submitting our final reporting. So that gives you a sense of where the project's at. And now we're looking to secure funding for the final design phase. So, but this project was identified as part of the flood modeling. So SLR did a flood modeling analysis course along the Guion and looked at this site in particular and felt it really still is a valuable project to reconnect the floodplain in this area. There's a lot of historic fill. I'll show some pictures soon that kind of shows you just how much historic fill there is in the area. So it'd be really valuable, you know, I mean, this is like a half-acre parcel area, but still very valuable to reconnect the floodplain and try to reduce future flooding impacts, especially like ice jams, debris jams, you know, especially with the bridge being immediately upstream there. So it really is a good opportunity to reconnect the floodplain and provide flood storage capacity. You know, as part of the restoration project, of course, there would be enhancements to the stream buffer. So there's that opportunity as well. And it really is an educational opportunity. You know, it's a very kind of public facing, you know, area. It's right in the heart of the village. You know, and Vermont Studio Center owns a lot of properties in Johnson Village, as folks who are familiar with the area may know. So it really is a great educational opportunity. You know, when the project's all said and done, you know, there's a walking path, there could be educational signs along the pathway. There's a pollinator garden, which I'll show you pictures of later. But it's good educational opportunity for the public to understand the importance of floodplain restoration projects and how you can mitigate flooding in a more naturalized way. And then I do have one note here, you know, and Trevor might speak to this a little bit as well. So I did note so behind the WolfCon building, which we'll show you a picture of momentarily, you know, this used to be the site of the former town garage. So they have, of course, the corrective action plan. They've been working with Ross Environmental, and as part of the floodplain restoration project, we have been including Bob Ross from Ross Environmental in all our meetings, you know, to just make sure that we coordinate both those efforts and ensure that, you know, they're following their corrective action plan. Underground storage tanks were already removed in the past, but there's, of course, kind of this area on the site, a small area, where those contaminated soils would be removed. They follow the corrective action plan, and there could be some efficiencies in terms of, you know, hiring one contractor, say, to do the excavation for the contaminated soils, and then also excavation for the floodplain restoration. So there's some potential cost efficiencies. And let's see. So I just want to include a couple of pictures to kind of familiarize ourselves with the site again. So you can kind of see here, it's right along the Guion River. Again, it's kind of just downstream from the Pearl Street Bridge, and the Vermont Studio Center offices are like right across the street. So, you know, people like Trevor are always, you know, they're on the grounds daily, you know, monitoring these areas. But it gives you a sense of just how kind of high up that historic fill is and how beneficial it could be to, you know, lower that area and reconnect the floodplain. So here's the pollinator garden. this was really beautiful and in bloom last spring. I think this picture was taken. So Vermont Studio Center back in 2024, they installed both the pollinator garden and the walking path. And so I think I have another picture that shows a little better, but the floodplain restoration would happen beyond the walking path, essentially. And the the alternative that was selected, which this slide shows, we really wanted to preserve the pollinator garden that's already been established and the walking path. It made more sense to pick an alternative that preserves those assets already. And, really there wasn't much of a difference in terms of like surface water reductions between these two alternatives. So the alternative as of now that has been selected to move forward with for final design is alternative B. And so you can kind of see that on this slide. It's got that dashed line, kind of that dashed pink line you can see here would be the proposed floodplain restoration location. And again, you can kind of see how it's just kind of tucking up against the pathway. So the grade essentially would kind of start to gradually, go down from the walking path. And that area would be, lowered to allow for floodplain reconnection. The proposed restored area is about 0.4 acres. This particular parcel is about half an acre. Vermont Studio Center owns a little bit. They have access to other lands nearby. And this project would kind of connect to other community spaces like the Johnson Arboretum as well. Just pulled from SLR's memo, they note the average floodplain cut is probably going to be around 3.5 feet, resulting in a volume of 1,500 cubic yards. So again, smaller area, but still impactful. Here is a cross section from the flood modeling that SLR did. So currently, the river can't access this floodplain until the 50-year flood level, and the proposed floodplain restoration would allow the river to access at the 2-year flood level. So it wouldn't make quite a difference in terms of floodplain reconnection, flood storage capacity. The proposed reductions in velocity was 1.9 cubic feet per second, and then surface water elevation reduction was, SLR said about 0.3 feet, so a couple inches. But, at the end of the day, a few inches can actually make quite a difference in a flooding event. It could be the difference between your first floor flooding or not. So it still kind of all adds up, and there's a lot of other restoration projects going on in the community, in the village as well, which Sequest has also funded. So, it all kind of adds up at the end of the day and does matter in terms of flood reduction. Here's another image from the modeling, just kind of gives you a better sense of, so this is alternative B again. And, that whole like pink area would essentially, be the proposed floodplain restoration area. So you kind of get a sense of generally, where that lowering would happen, where the grade would start to go down from the walking path, and, where the Guion River would have some access to its natural floodplain. So our request, again, we're just looking for final design funds at this point in time. We're asking for a modest request of $35,237.76. The final design estimate from SLR was about $20,000 for the design planning, and then they would also help with or whoever gets hired for this phase would also help with kind of drafting the permits and filing the permits and getting things queued up in that sense. And then we've just put around 10%. We've just put a small amount for LCPC's grant management time to continue to just coordinate with Vermont Studio Center and help them in that capacity. So I put the implementation phase cost here, just as to give you a general sense. We're just asking for the final design figure now, but gives you a sense of what this might cost in the future when we go to actually implement the project. Construction would be around 168,000, but that includes, construction, the bid management services, construction oversight, and also a 10% contingency. So for phosphorus reduction, you saw this in your packet. This is a smaller area, but again, it does have a lot of benefits and could be a great opportunity. So the year one phosphorus reduction is 2 kilograms per year. Year two is 1.1. And then, SLR estimated, total credit that the Quist could claim would be around 17.5 kilograms. But again, they're estimates. I still think, this project has a lot of benefits to it and is worth pursuing. And then I think you just have project schedule here. So we feel that, we could really get this project final design phase kickstarted this winter and put out a RFP by February 15th and then have somebody selected by April 1st. We would try to hold our kickoff meeting for the final design phase by May 15th and, have 60% designs by around September. Of course, we develop, an operation maintenance plan, site access agreement, all the required documents. And the idea would be to have 100% design plans by November 1st and have the consultant assist with drafting permit applications as well. I didn't mention, but I think I had on the slide earlier, we already did a full phase 1 archaeological assessment. We already have concurrence. The area has been cleared from an archaeological assessment standpoint. So we shouldn't have any problem getting a final sign-off from Vermont Division of Historic Preservation. And then the idea would be kind of wrap up final reporting by December 30th, by the end of 2026. So I think that was my last slide. I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to see if Trevor has anything he'd like to add.
Thank you, Megan. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I thought a little brief history of that space in that area might be helpful. So the Vermont Studio Center acquired that, I don't know the exact year, but the building you saw was the town gymnasium. And the building to the rear of it, which we actually had demolished after the flood in 2023 because it was totally inundated on the first floor. That was acquired by VSC because it was actually condemned. We shored up the building and it now houses 12 studios for our artists that come as residents here. The green space that you currently see previously was actually a parking lot, which was converted to green space and now has the pollinator garden in it, which this was the first year we got to see it in full bloom, and it was really nice. The path that Megan mentioned is not completed yet, but the intention is to allow it to be a public access because our properties, we don't abut the Arboretum, but the town has made agreements with other landowners to allow the public to access the Arboretum. So the eventual goal is to have that be a public access, which will take you to the Arboretum. I guess the only other thing I wanted to say is that VSC's tried very hard throughout its history to be good stewards of the environment. Our buildings are, actually our latest building is entirely fossil free. And we're doing what we can, both historically with our buildings and everything else. The flood was a surprise to everybody here, as I'm sure it was elsewhere in the state. Yeah, it seems like a good fit. We had to do this soil where we wanted to and had to do this soil remediation anyway, and it just made sense to coordinate it. So I don't have much else unless there's questions. Happy to answer.
Well, I did see Aaron's hand up before, but I don't know if you wanted to. And then Dean.
Thanks. Well, I first want to like commend Megan and Trevor and all the folks who put that application together. I think it was a bulk of, the pages in the materials that we were sent, and like a lot of work has been put into, making sure that there's the historic sensitivity is a factor and has been reviewed, and just the design work for a project that will have an impact on Vermont Studio Center and the town of Johnson. So like really great job in that. I enjoyed like looking through all the details. I had a question about Megan, that image you showed of it looked like, existing conditions and then proposed conditions. And so am I looking at like, or are we looking at the river and that bedrock outcrop, and then on the right-hand side is what's proposed? Is that correct? Or I was just trying to get an idea of like where that drop down is. I think I've got it, but if I don't know if you could pull that back up. It looks like, yeah, I had a question about just like I wanted to see that again to wrap my head around it. Maybe other folks did as well. But I was curious also in your timeline. So maybe, yeah. So you've submitted an application for final design that we're reviewing today, and it looks like it'll be about a year out from now where that final design will be completed, permitting applied for it. Do you plan to like next fall apply for implementation as you're wrapping up the final design? And I know there's like a protocol for all of these applications and so on, but it seems like, I mean, I right now, like if this was an implementation final design / implementation, I'd be like, go for it. Give them the money to do this. Like, I feel like it like takes so long to do these things. But your final numbers there of roughly $170,000, like, let's just do it. Like, I don't know. I'm ready to like vote on final design and be like, hey, like, let's get this in and apply for implementation as soon as possible next year. Again, I know there's a process and all this stuff, but it's like, yeah, I'd love to see this implemented in 2027 rather than like, let's keep waiting and waiting.
Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. I mean, the idea, would be, kind of as we're wrapping up final design, apply for implementation funds. And yeah, it'd be great to be able to implement this project in 2027.
Yeah.
And then I think, is this the slide, Aaron, that you were talking about?
It was the one before. It was the cross section. Yeah. So on the left, like, tell me just a little bit more about this. I can't quite see. I'm like, got my glasses on too, and
yeah, I know. I'm like squinting as well. So the cross section is, yeah, you're right. It's kind of showing, you have existing conditions. Sorry. You have existing conditions, which is more of like those blue lines.
Okay.
But it's basically, and then you have proposed, it's also showing like the 50-year flood level.
Okay.
So, it's currently like the river is not really accessing its floodplain until the 50-year flood level. And then the proposed would be to lower it all the way down to the 2-year flood level so that the river, has access to the floodplain, sooner, I guess, significantly sooner than it does now, because there's just so much historic fill built up.
So
sorry, I can't give you more of an engineering description of that.
No, I don't need that. I'm just like, just visually, am I looking downstream and I'm looking at like river left on the left-hand side and river right? Because then I have to like turn myself around, or is on the left-hand side, the existing condition of where, that fill is, and the right-hand side is showing that drop down in the floodplain. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so my right,
Yeah.
right hand side is, it's showing the two alternatives. So there was alternative A and B. A
Okay.
is in that yellow line, and B, the one that was selected, is that like dashed red line.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that is showing like the proposed drop in elevation.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Aaron. Dean, you're next, and then Ken.
Yeah. Well, in my role as staff, it's my responsibility to point out things like the relative phosphorus reduction or cost effectiveness of a project like this. And what I'm about to say isn't a judgment against the other possible benefits provided by a project like this. When we estimate cost effectiveness, we look at the entire costs borne by the Clean Water Fund. So we've invested in earlier design, we would be investing in final design, potentially, in implementation with only 1.1 kilogram of phosphorus reduced per year, and the implementation costs and all the design costs, the cost per kilogram would exceed $200,000. We were talking about the last project under 50. This one, if it was to proceed to its implementation using all clean water funds, would have 1/4 of the cost effectiveness of that. Just finally, and I don't mean to belabor this, but this is an application that was part of a round where we said back in May or whatever last spring that these projects, because of their estimated cost effectiveness, then we're going to need to leverage substantial implementation funds, even if this is funded through its final design and then all of the implementation costs are covered by someone else, it would be about $67,000 per kilogram. So I just needed to get that out on the table in my role as staff.
Yep, that's true. Ken?
Yeah, I just, who owns the land that's shown in that slide that has the pink outline?
It's Vermont Studio Center owns it.
Thanks.
Is that okay? Thanks, Ken. I just had a quick question. I'm curious, Megan, about the cost on the permitting filing that you put there. 15,000. I don't know a project where I've had to. If there's more than permits involved, it just seemed like a high price tag. I don't. Just curious what that's about.
Yeah, I'm just looking back. It says 12,000. So again, that's just an estimate from SLR. I mean, that's like covering both their time, permit fees itself. So it's both permit fees and the consultant's time to actually help prepare all the draft permits and then deal with all the Q&A from permitting agencies. So it's kind of a bulk estimate for all those things.
Okay, thank you. All right. Oh, Aaron.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to find, it's such a large document. I'm trying to find the summary, Dean, of the phosphorus reduction per year and over time. Maybe if you could like pull that screen up again where it showed like all the applications. Because I guess I just I don't quite understand the whole cost ratio methodology and all that sort of stuff. And so I guess it'd be nice to just have an image on the screen to better understand what you've just described. Because again, I think you all know, like I'm in support of these projects. I could almost care less about the whole cost ratio because the benefits are great and because there are more projects happening in Johnson that we're going to see like that have different ratios. And like, I think if we put all those together, like we're reducing phosphorus and we're also creating so many more co-benefits. And I mean, it's a no-brainer to me, but I appreciate staff saying, we have to consider the cost ratio benefits and all that sort of stuff, but I still just don't get it.
I'll talk about that too. But Joanne.
Well, getting to the cost benefits, do you have sources for funding some implementation phases of the project that would decrease the cost?
I mean, there's some different sources we could certainly target for sure. Whether it's like a future, VEM grant, like Flood Resilient Communities Fund type grant, or it's a WUV, Watersheds United Vermont grant. We would certainly target in different funding sources and see which would be the best fit for implementation. So we're not expecting the Quest to necessarily, fund everything through implementation. We fully recognize that we might have to look at a couple different sources for implementation. And so, with that in mind, the cost ratio looks a little better. I mean, we should be looking at the P reduction and the cost ratio based on the funding requests. That's on the table today.
And I guess the second question is what do you plan to, are you looking at a floodplain forest or are you looking at some other type of vegetation? And then, I guess the stabilization of the soil in the first few years until the plants are established is sort of critical.
Yeah. I mean,
so I guess my question is, what are you planning there and how do you plan to maintain the short-term bank stabilization from a likely flood event? If it's a 2-year event, you're likely to have a flood in the first few years after you establish the vegetation.
Yeah. So, I mean, more specifics on, exactly what would be planted there would certainly be fleshed out in the final design phase. But, we do tend to, we plan to certainly put some, trees in and certainly improve the vegetation there, because as you saw in the photos, there's some, but it certainly could be improved. But at the same time, we'd want to maintain some pathway and access down to the river as well, maintain river access that Vermont Studio Center currently has there.
Okay. So Megan, I think these projects need to happen, like lots of them in Johnson. And having said that, has this been put forward for an enhancement grant proposal at all? Or Lake Champlain Basin program?
This one has not.
Okay.
Like I said, the preliminary design was funded through the QUIS. So we wanted to start with the QUIS.
Right.
It seemed like it made sense to continue for final design, but certainly explore different funding sources for implementation.
Yeah, I think I was trying to address Aaron's concern because I think the enhancement grants were put there to answer that, but how much money is there is always the question. But that's where I usually have this group. This is the phosphorus projects, and this is the, the enhancement grant projects that are clearly defined. But I agree that, trying to get it submitted in any form for any funding, and it's really important. Johnson really, really needs this project. But again, yeah, I think this will be an interesting vote, I guess.
Yeah, and I just saw, I think, a note from, excuse me, a note from Chris. Yeah, about the phosphorus reduction. Yeah, just to clarify again. So again, these are estimates. The year one phosphorus reduction would be 2 kilograms per year. After year one, it's 1.1. But overall, it'd be like 17.5 kilograms of phosphorus reduction. So, and that's what's been estimated by SLR using the Functioning Floodplain Initiative tool.
Okay, time is passing. So maybe, I guess, unless there are any other comments, should we put this up for a motion? I guess, do I hear a motion? One way or the other.
Well, I'm going to make the motion.
Okay. So Aaron has made the first motion.
This is Erin DeVries. I'm making the motion to approve final design for the Vermont Community Center project.
Important to know this is final design too. Just so yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I hear a second? This is when I'm glad I'm chair. Oh.
Nice.
All right. So I guess if we don't hear a second motion, it's further discussion. Is that correct, Dean? Protocol for, or
what I would say, Peter, is that you as chair are not prevented from seconding. So if you wanted to second for the purposes of discussion, although I think of Richard as being the true parliamentarian of this group, I'm just going out on a limb. So I wouldn't let the lack of a second prevent you from having a discussion if that's what you think is going to help.
I think I would like to make a motion for further discussion on this because it seems that we are at a impasse due to the phosphorus credit. Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that. This is Erin DeVries. I mean, like, well, what are you asking for? Like,
I'm asking for further discussion on this project.
So Peter, you were seconding for the purposes of discussion. Yes. So now you're open for discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Dean. I should know this. So yes, so open for discussion. I'm seconding for discussion on this project. Okay, thank you. Ken, I think your hand was up first. Ken? All right, little sound issues, perhaps audio issues. Megan, you want to go while Ken's figuring it out?
Sure. So I guess on the P reduction, I do want to just point out when you look at the slate of applications today, there's a buffer project, and the P reduction difference between this one and that one is like 0.7. So just want to point that out.
So Megan, this is Ken again. Could you put up that slide that has the pink?
Oh, the floodplain restoration proposed area, that one?
Yes.
Sure. Let me just pull that up again. Let's see. Okay, just give me a second. I will pull that up for you. Share. Okay, so you wanted to see this one?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So it is the area of the pink, is that the soil that's going to be excavated?
Yeah, so there'd be like kind of a gradual slope coming down from the walking path area that we showed. And yeah, there would be some excavation to actually lower the floodplain, but it would, they always do it kind of gradually.
And
so.
what's the space between the excavation area and is that building still there? The other gentleman had said a building had been removed.
The building that it's not shown in this one though. Let's see, is there a better picture? Oh, this one, yeah. So the building that used to be beyond the WolfCon building that you see now, that's been removed. So there was another building in the back portion. And that's the one that Trevor's referring to, which used to be part of the former town garage.
Thank you.
Seth?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm having some camera problems. Just wanted to provide the committee with some context. Megan talked a bit about the modeling work, and LCPC has been working with a variety of agencies to complete the hydraulic modeling through the village of Johnson. If it's appropriate, Peter, there's a graphic of the where this fits in context that I think might be helpful to see. Do you mind if I share that?
Please.
Okay, thank you. Can folks see? So you see the green,
Yes.
the Vermont Studio Center is at sort of that one end of a series of flood mitigation projects that are based on restoring floodplain access to the Guiana and Lamoille River, ultimately stretching down the Guiana to the confluence with the main stem, and then through the village off until Ithiel Falls. And each one of these has compounding benefits, both for flood mitigation, but also sediment attenuation. So as the tail end of this, that's really, really very important for starting that as the Guyana begins to flatten out and enter the backwatering area of the Lamoille. So I understand that the committee is supposed to be asking about the phosphorus reductions. That's part of your role. I just wanted to let you see this in the bigger picture and know that the current request is for the final design, and that LCPC's process has always been to pursue leveraging economic development and flood mitigation in addition to water quality for implementation. So I think a valid discussion about phosphorus. We would like the opportunity to be able to move forward with final design so that we have those to pursue some of those other types of opportunities. So thank you.
That's great context. And I mean, are there other designs on these other sections that are happening, or are they being proposed in the future? Would you think that maybe this could be resubmitted with other groupings as a grouped project with other projects for this clean water funding? Is that something that you might consider? Or is that just way too down the road?
So great question, Peter. So the Westcomb Road floodplain restoration project and the Guiana confluence area, so which it's looking at like Sterling Market, Union Bank, the health center area. The Moyle Quest actually is already funding for preliminary design, but we've just kind of we just started that effort. So we're in the preliminary design phase for those two projects, and those are at least the modeling is showing that are going to be quite impactful in terms of flood reductions. I mean, when you think about like the Westcomb Road project and all the Guiana confluence projects, I mean, the modeling showing it could actually reduce surface water levels and flooding by 1 to 3 feet in Johnson Village. So that's pretty impactful. But yeah, those two are already under Quest funding for preliminary design phase, and we've kickstarted them at this point.
Well, I think just for time's sake, like with people knowing now the context of this, I think we should make motion to vote on this because there's other projects we need to get to, and let the votes fall where they may. So unless there's other questions, Seth, is your hand still up or?
Oh, I'm trying to figure out how to turn my hand down.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I say again, do I hear a motion to approve this project? Sounds like
Peter, you already have a motion and a second
okay
on it. So
I don't have to do it again because of discussion.
So yeah, you just call for
Okay,
the vote.
so I'll call for a vote. Then because yeah, sorry. So all in favor of approving this project, say aye.
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 I heard two. Correct. Maybe this is one of these hand things we need to do.
Yeah,
but I heard two.
I saw three.
Three. Okay.
Well,
maybe if people want to put their hands up, let's do this again.
Or just call.
There are virtual hands up
So,
or aye.
So Aaron, Dorothy, Ken, Peter. I'm not.
Okay. What count do you have?
I had 4 so far.
Okay. There seems to be...
I have you, Ken, Dorothy, and Aaron.
Okay. All opposed? Raise your hands.
No, I'm sorry, Peter. So it
but
the pros, I had Aaron, Dorothy, Ken, you, and I thought now that there was one more, but maybe it is still just 4. Was there a 5th?
I think you're correct. Scrolling down. So we good on that count?
If it's 4, then 5 are required to advance it.
Okay. Unless there's abstentions.
No, the number is based on the
Okay. All right. Well, I guess should I say the nays have it? I mean, if they're not actually saying it, but I guess that's what is happening. So
the motion failed.
The motion has failed, and this is not being approved at this time for QUIS funding.
Right. It's not denied with prejudice. It doesn't mean that something couldn't come back.
Yes, of course. And within the context of what I was talking about earlier as well, I think there's a lot of potential with all these projects bundled perhaps in the future as well. But we'll see what happens when we get there. Sorry, Megan.
Erin has her hand up, but I'd also like to get in the queue. I'll raise my hand here.
Oh, okay. Who's that?
It's Chris.
Oh, Chris, go ahead.
Is it okay if I jump in line, Erin? Okay. I want to say just big picture about like the cost of this project. It is pretty expensive. I think it's great that you're willing to consider expensive projects. And I do see the merits of this project. I want you to be aware that there is a change currently in draft form to our policies that allows for co-funding or will allow for co-funding between various pots of money, including QUISP funding and enhancement funding, where the QUISP could take all the credit for the phosphorus. So there may be an opportunity in short order for some of the project to be funded by enhancement or maybe some other source. And maybe that would make this get it over, if you could get 50 grand or something from enhancement or for some flood mitigation funding or wherever, maybe that would make a big difference for this. So that I would say in the next month or so, you might, maybe it's, I don't know, after Christmas, you'll be hearing some more news on that.
I've been waiting to hear that for a long time, Chris.
Yeah. So it's not guaranteed, but I mean, that's the draft is policy is moving in that direction. So I can't say it's guaranteed, but yeah, want to give you a glimmer of hope. The other thing I wanted to say, just big picture, is I think it's great that you're considering an expensive project. But another thing that you could also be thinking about is what is the impact of approving this project on your future ability to meet your target for the basin? And, with that in mind, and I didn't hear that in the discussion, that's fine. You probably could fund one or two really expensive projects, but it means you have less money to achieve your target. So let's say this was $200,000. It was, with design and implementation, and then you look at what your target is after that. Let's say I have, I don't know what your total available funding is from all your previously approved projects, but let's say you have $1 million left and you have 30 kilograms to achieve. You could look at that analysis and see what the impact of this vote would be. And maybe that's another metric to look at just besides the cost efficiency ratio. Because you should be funding the average cost efficiency is, meaning half of your project should be more expensive than the average, right? They don't all have to be under the average. So it's not horrible to have one or two expensive projects. Mm-hmm. You don't want all of them to be expensive, though. So if you're proving this, that means it's more difficult to fund future, more expensive projects.
These are all good salient points.
Yeah.
Aaron, did you have something else you wanted to say? Or
sorry, I'm just trying to get back and forth because I'm looking at the document on a different screen. And I know we've probably belabored this, but it's $35,000, right? Is that what Megan's asking for? Just yes or no, that's correct?
Yes.
Okay. And to your point, Chris, about the great that there's going to be a new policy where there can be a sharing of cost and things like that. But and again, maybe this is my just ignorance in learning about the different steps along this quiz process. But I imagine the timeline for applying for those funds through enhancement grant is going to be different than the timing for the next RFP that comes out for this through this quiz. So it just makes it a little more complicated. And I guess the original reason I raised my hand was so we have decided not to move this project forward into final design, or not to pay. The QUISP is not going to pay for final design of Megan's project. We'll just call it that. What is the next step? So she comes back again in a couple of months and sends the same thing. I mean, we've funded preliminary design, we've funded different stages of this design, and now this group has said we're not going to do that. It's just I'm sorry, it's really frustrating to me. It's really frustrating. I think it's baloney.
It is frustrating, Aaron. I see both sides. Unfortunately, the bureaucracy of it all, right? It's clean water, it's phosphorus reduction, it's efficiency, right? It's but I'm glad to hear Chris said about merging some of these programs with matched funding. That could be really important moving forward. And I think it's something that should have happened a while ago. But I'm not writing these things. This is just from the armchair. But I feel your pain, because I've had to dismiss a number of projects because of this. I didn't even propose them because I knew they weren't going to be accepted. And I don't know if that's a bad attitude, but I pursued other ones and I was able to fund them through other grants. Not all of them, but we're living in this world. It's a chasing money grant world. It's not easy. Will?
Yeah, I just had a quick question, but I'm not sure if that's procedurally allowed as a public comment, seeing as I'm not a member of the BWIC.
I will allow that.
Sure. I'm just wondering if it would be appropriate for members of the BWIC to maybe offer Megan what her next steps should be. I think it was a great point from Aaron. That's what does Megan do next? Should she come back? What would you be looking for if she did come back in terms of a change? Or are you advocating that she applies elsewhere?
That's a good point, Will. Ken?
Yeah, I suppose if the request from what I'm seeing for the next stage is $35,000, I don't see why we would be voting against that. We're not voting against implementing the project or anything. We're just voting for the next step. So I just don't see the rationale for defeating a motion of that nature.
I think there is a rationale, and that is the total estimated cost, right, for implementation. And although we've had projects accepted, but early on stages for preliminary design, knowing that the project would be expensive, but now I think the reins are a little tighter from the funding perspective. But I would suggest, I mean, obviously you've heard my suggestions, Megan, look at bundling this stuff, look at enhancement grants, look at Lake Champlain Basin Program, all the other possible funding opportunities that we have to do this. We have to do this all the time. I don't know if that's helpful, but it's, and then maybe in a month, like Chris said, that, potentially there'll be some options for matching funds from enhancement, right? So when you do come back, that could be an option as well. I don't know. I'm trying to air out the different things.
I think I believe there's a WOV enhancement grant due mid-January. So
there you go.
That would be the one that we would target next.
Okay, so it is almost 10:30, and I was the one who said there's time that we need to pay attention to, and here we are extending the conversation. So I would say let's move on to the next project. And again, Megan, I'm sorry for this whole process, but I think maybe we've learned a few things. Trying to silver lining.
Have we?
Have we? We've learned something, but yeah.
It's okay. Thanks, Peter.
Yeah. Hey, Peter, can I jump in? I need to jump to another meeting, and I appreciate just all the work that you're putting into this. Megan, I'm sorry about the vote. I would say this is right on the edge of affordability, but I think there is a path forward, and I think you can work with Dean, and even I can help support you with that, with some options to get this over the finish line. So I wouldn't take this as a setback, and I appreciate the work of the BWIC. It is frustrating. I hear the frustration, but I'm really optimistic and feeling good about the work overall that you're doing, and thank you for that. So I just want to create a positive energy out there, and I don't think this is the end of the story for this one. So
yeah, thank you.
We'll talk to you all next time. Thanks for having me.
Just to echo what Aaron just wrote, I will also provide a letter of support if you need one. Well.
Thanks.
Okay, so I guess we have 3 more to go through, right, Dean, or something?
I think something like that.
Okay.
Who's next?
Do it.
Is it Tori, maybe?
Good morning, Dean. Tori isn't able to make this meeting, so I'll be...
You're subbing. I got it.
I'm subbing. And the result of that is that my presentation is going to be a little bit choppy, so I apologize to folks for that. Seth Jensen, Deputy Director, Lamoille County Planning Commission. We are applying for final piece of the Holmes Meadow floodplain restoration project, specifically the revegetation and post-construction vegetation monitoring component of the project. So I believe you all received details about this. I'll provide somewhat more. So back to that slide we talked about earlier. The Holmes Meadow is this project, this area. It is at a bend of the main stem of the Lamoille River between the core of Johnson Village and the Westcombe Road Mobile Home Park. It's immediately downstream of the confluence.
Seth, do you want to screen share?
Yeah. Oh, am I not screen shared?
No. Do you want to screen share, Seth?
Yes, please. I'll do that. Can folks see that?
Yes.
So this is the Holmes Meadow um, between the core of Johnson Village, which you see here on the right, the Westcombe Road Mobile Home Park on the left, confluence of the Guyon River and the Johnson Wastewater Treatment Plant. The project was identified by flood modeling that we completed in 2018 and 19 following the major ice jams in Johnson. What that found and confirmed is that the Lamoille River at that bend is very incised, and so the river is not able to access the floodplain at the normal stage, which significantly contributes to erosion of the channel, as well as issues like ice jamming, debris jamming, increases the velocity of water against the bend with Route 15 and in the mobile home park. The project has, as it's gone, the purchase, acquisition, final design, and implementation was is being funded through a flood resilient communities grant from Vermont Emergency Management, which my understanding is a non-reporting entity. So that would mean that the QUISP will get the phosphorus reduction credits for this for this and the components that the funding. I'll pull up now if folks can see it, the plan for planting. So the post-construction replanting plan is fairly robust. To take what's currently an agricultural field and have it be much more like a floodplain forest with some passive recreation because it is in the center of a village neighborhood. The funding from QUISP would include, as I mentioned, all of this planting, which is fairly aggressive, as well as the post-construction monitoring. There is a berm currently along the bank. That berm is being removed as part of the project. The berm is also infested with knotweed. So ensuring that knotweed does not reestablish and outcompete the new vegetation is very important. There has been some cost escalation since we developed the project budget back in 2021, as everything is. Some of the drivers of that are the soil management requirements from DEC's wastewater management division. Since it is in a village setting, there's special handling requirements. If it leaves the village, it has to leave the village because the rest of the village is also in the floodplain. So that trips into that. But all of those costs are funded by the Flood Resilient Communities Fund. So there's two components of the ask in the application. I'll pull up that budget. The planting set floodplain revegetation 110,000, and then the vegetation maintenance and post-construction monitoring, which is not an eligible cost for the Flood Resilient Communities Fund grant, is an additional 24,000. I'm happy to answer questions. Just one last point: the project bid for construction has been awarded. The pre-construction meeting is scheduled for Monday. We would really like to be able to complete the project both for the flood reduction benefits that will come from the soil work, but also the water quality benefits that will come from the or be enhanced by the full site revegetation as currently planned.
Okay, thanks, Seth. Dean.
Just with respect to the last point that Seth made, the and Will knows this well because he and I have talked about these issues before. The way that the QUISP funding works is that there's a pot of money for implementation, and then there's an additional pot of money for operations and maintenance. And I'm not going to encourage the book to do anything different than consider the proposal in front. But if it is approved, then as the project proceeds, the $24,000 expense related to O&M, it might actually be covered under a subsequent agreement and wouldn't be part of implementation per se, because it would fall within the realm of operations and maintenance. And that's just the simplest way to put it. It's kind of the extreme estimate of the cost for the project, but some of it may actually spill over and be considered part of O&M, which is when the Basin Council approves a project for implementation, as Chris would say if he was still on the call, it is automatically approving the operations and maintenance expenses. It's just a matter of which pool of funds it would come out of. It just might not be in the implementation task award.
Okay, thanks, Dean. So that would mean that we should consider that the 24,000 is not added to when we vote for the final price tag on this.
I don't want to overcomplicate it, but if there was someone who felt like this is too close a call, then, but I'm not suspecting that that's what people are going to say. I'd be telling them that maybe $20,000 that are included in the budget are actually going to be covered as part of operation and maintenance, not part of the implementation cost. And as confounding as it might sound, we're not really pooling those O&M. We're not looking at those O&M costs the same way we're looking at all the costs up through implementation.
Okay. Yeah, I just think it should be considered if people are on a fence. Aaron?
Sorry about that. I had to step away for a brief moment to use the lavatory. Seth, I don't know if you mentioned this, but I wanted folks to know that Vermont River Conservancy is working with Tori and the Lamoille RPC to place, and the town village to place a river corridor conservation easement on the property. And so we're almost ready to close on that conservation easement. We've been waiting, for the contract to be in place and work with the town in making sure that implementation, that project is moving forward, but it will be. And so I just want folks to know that there'll be a protection, a permanent protection on this landscape. And I don't know if that I need to recuse myself from voting on this because of that. I don't think so, but just wanted folks to know that there will be a conservation easement on this property as per the requirements of the Flood Resilient Community Fund.
Yeah, I don't think you need to recuse yourself if it's already, I don't know. What do you think, Dean? I don't think so. Anyways, Ken?
Yeah, could the gentleman share the quotes he got for the work? I think you have to have 3 quotes for the work, and he said they've already approved one. I'm just curious about what the other quotes are.
Sure. The project was bid through a competitive bid process. We received 11 bids and selected the lowest qualified bidder. I believe they ranged from about 480,000 for construction to 1.1 million. Clearly we went with the 480, not the 1.1 million. And then they were clustered around 660,000. There were some mobilization savings due to the location of the lowest qualified bidder.
Okay. It's 10:40. Just letting everyone know. I'm sure you can all see that number. Do we have any more questions or comments regarding this project, or do we want to hear a motion?
So Peter, I'm confused about what Dean said about the O&M. Are we are we not voting? In other words, the document.
I think Dean
the
was
document.
saying, "Don't worry about it."
The document
For
says
now.
137,000. Are we voting on that number, or are we voting on that number minus the O&M?
I would encourage you to vote on the original number, but do so with the understanding that once you give a green light, it goes back to the clean water service provider to work out the contract details. And this is within the realm of contract details. I just wanted to be clear with people in advance. It's just, I'm not encouraging you to change anything.
Does that work for you, Ken? Sounds like a yes. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve this project through Chris funds?
The motion, and I'm just curious who else can make motions. Like I know there's some alternates on the line, so this is Aaron DeVries.
The
I
alternates
make
can
a
make
motion to approve the sorry again, I've just got too many tabs here. The Lamoille County Planning Commission's project, Holmes Meadow.
All right, I hear a motion from Aaron to approve the Holmes Meadow project. Do I hear a second? Don't be shy.
This is Dorothy. I second the motion to approve the project.
Okay. Dorothy, thank you for seconding the motion. All in favor of approving this project for Chris funds, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Holmes project is approved.
So I have Dorothy, Ken, Joanne, Aaron, and you, Peter, voting in favor. Correct? Okay.
Is that enough? Is that 5?
Yes.
Here's a win there. All right, who's on board?
I think it's Will.
All right, Will.
All right, I will try to make this as quick as possible for everyone. I don't have a presentation prepared outside of my application. I know sometimes screen sharing is appreciated, so I might, if there's interest, just share the 100% designs that we've come to as I talk briefly through the application. Would that be helpful? Is there a desire to see that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, great. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, great. So we completed the 100% designs, working with Fluid State Consulting, and we just completed that about 2 months ago. You'll see we have a significant tributary to Caspian Lake and Greensboro, Cemetery Brook. And this project is essentially looking to plant about 11 acres of buffer to restore some wetland ecology there. And we will also be installing 50 plus in-stream structures, post-assisted log structures to help the channelized stream jump its banks and start to meander naturally through that low-lying area to reconnect wetland hydrology and put it back onto its floodplains. And so this is kind of just the top-down view. You can see here a couple of transects. Here is the overall plan. You can see the different planting areas in there, and then each of those little tiny dots is one of our structures. And here it is a little bit closer up on those. See piles 1 through 28, piles 27 through 42, and then it gets a little bit spaced out as the grade becomes more gentle and it approaches the lake. We have fewer structures spaced out a little bit further. And we're leaving largely natural conditions for the last stretch because not as much intervention is necessary in that area. And it's already not very well developed or channelized. Here's our planting plan. Just to save time, I won't zoom in and go through each species that we're looking at putting in there. But I did get a quote from Intervale, and I've been in touch with them about sourcing. So we're confident that we can get all of these species that we're looking for in the proper quantities at the proper time. Here's some design details of those structures. We had some back and forth with the Vermont Division of Historic Preservation, where there was some concern about this area and our original plan to plant sentinel trees. They were concerned the size of the root balls would require enough excavation to trigger doing a full archaeological review. So instead of doing that, we shifted our plan slightly and we'll be using cedar posts as sentinels instead, just to demarcate the edge of the project site for development or mowing on the outside. And we're also being a little bit more clear with exactly how we're going to be installing these plantings. We've actually since adjusted slightly from bare root to probably tube stock, just because we think that that'll be a little bit easier and will require less excavation as well, just to make sure that we're on the right side of VDHB. And here you can see some planned inspection points for O&M in the future, or the phosphorus reduction areas. And I did realize actually that as I was reviewing some of my materials this morning, that I'd made a slight error in my application, which I'm hoping won't be a big problem, and I can just talk with Dean to get it slightly adjusted. But the phosphorus reduction numbers are slightly higher than I had indicated in my application. Instead of, I think I said 11.6 phosphorus, kilograms of phosphorus, it would be 1.1 kilograms higher than that, so about 12.7. I think that this project already has really, really incredible efficiency numbers, so that would only serve to help that. The mistake was on my end, where I just used the number from the interim phosphorus calculator and had neglected to include a small number from the FFI, which was separate from that calculation. So assuming that that's not a problem, Dean, I can follow up with you on that just to make sure that we're counting the right number of phosphorus.
Not a problem at all.
Okay, great.
Good problem.
Yeah, I figured. It's a good problem to have. So I think that's really the gist of it. I'm happy to take any questions, talk more about this. Some of the background, I guess I'll provide a little bit more context. It was identified as a highly prioritized project through the Caspian Watershed LWAP a few years back. And then just over this last about year and a half, we did the final designs that brought us to where we are today, and we're hoping to implement it. So yeah, and I'm only asking for $37,000 to bring us through implementation.
All right, any discussion or questions for Will? Okay. Sounds like not hearing any. Seems pretty straightforward. Do I hear a motion to approve this project for the, I guess it's called the Barr family LLC project for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the project for the Barr family project implementation.
Thank you, Joanne, for making that first motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that, Megan.
Thank you, Megan, for making the second motion on the Barr family project. All in favor of approving this project for quiz funding, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Congratulations, Will.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I look forward to getting that in the ground.
Literally. All right, we have another one.
Yes.
All right, who's presenting?
I believe it's my turn.
Okay.
Karina with Caledonia County Natural Resources Conservation District. So mine should hopefully be a little bit more straightforward. I also didn't have a presentation, but I can share my screen just to show you a map. This is for a riparian buffer planting. Let me just get my screen here. All right, let me know if you can all see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so this is in Hardwick, Haynesville Brook, which is a tributary to the Lamoille. It's actually not too far off. If you go north a little bit here, there's the Lamoille. And it is a privately owned property that has been used as pasture. It would be about 1.24 acres of planting at about 400 stems per acre. So we're looking to get about 498 stems in the ground. The site itself, there's a couple of areas that are pretty dynamic. So the buffer width ranges from 35 feet in some spots where we're starting 10 to 15 feet from the riverbank in those more dynamic areas to up to 100 feet. It is 3 different locations, which I will share now. Oops, those are pictures. So here's a map here, and if you can see my cursor, this area here at the most southernmost area would be 100 feet buffer, and then the areas further north will be 35 to 80 feet in buffer. We are looking to work, or we will be working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Partners Program. And they are doing a STEM match, which will be super helpful. The project itself shouldn't, compared to all the other projects we heard about today, should be really straightforward and cost effective. We are asking for about 7,000, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service STEM match will be about 1,500. This project came to us from the Stewards of Greensboro. They had gone out and done some streamwise assessments, and so we worked with them and the landowners. We will be engaging volunteers along with them to do the planting. So we'll be out there doing the planting ourselves. We intend to get the plants from Intervale. As far as the timeline, we would be ordering those plants probably in the next week or two. And then we will be doing a spring 2026 planting in May. And one of the things we're hoping to do is be involved with some operation and maintenance. And that will be alongside the U.S. Fish and Wildlife partners team, especially when it comes to there is some reed cannery grass on the property. So they will be super helpful in kind of keeping that at bay to make sure we get some good survivability. Yeah, in terms of the phosphorus reduction, it is 1.74 kilograms per year. And then the cost effectiveness, it looks like it would be a little under 4 grand per kg per year. And yeah, there's already a good amount of native vegetation there, so we are looking to get stems that will kind of add to that and yeah. I think that's it. Does anyone have any specific questions?
Let's see.
Peter, comment more
Oh,
than
Dean.
comment more than question. Karina is on the ball. There's a copy of a letter from the property owners with QUISP funding. There will need to be a site access license, and given the planned implementation in May, that's something that will have to get finalized, and we'll have to be looking ahead to the operation and maintenance.
Okay.
But yes, these are relatively straightforward projects,
Yeah.
and the support from the landowners there. This is one of the, well, Bar also had private, but this is the first time we've seen this application rather than second. Anyway, just wanted to draw attention to that. That is not a concern.
Okay. I will add one thing I didn't mention is these property owners are also in talks with DEC, and it might be VRC. I can't remember which easement organization it would be, but they are in the process and talks of a conservation easement. So that kind of adds to the value of this planting on that property.
Totally.
That's really good to know, because there has been, again, it's too bad Chris isn't here. There has been some mention of the possibility of, when there are conservation easements, that somehow the site access gets folded into it, not to complicate the conservation easement process, but to avoid just having more paperwork than is necessary.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. And I'll be sure to continue to be in touch with, I believe it's Stacy that's on this one. Yes, I believe it's Stacy Pomeroy. So we've been in touch about this a lot, and I'll be sure to keep her in the loop.
Great. Thanks, Karina.
Thank you.
See any more questions? Not seeing anyone raising hands. What's the name of this again?
Haynesville.
Haynesville
Brook.
Haynesville Brook. Do I hear a motion to approve funding for Haynesville Brook project?
I'll make a motion to approve the Haynesville Brook implementation project.
Thank you, Joanne, for making the first motion. Do I hear a second?
This is Dorothy. I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Dorothy. Second has been made. Second motion has been made. All in favor of approving this project going forward, say aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So we're at 10:58. What do we got going on, Dean?
Well, there was an additional agenda item, but I think Chris Rotler essentially integrated it into the earlier discussion. The only other thing I would mention is that we discussed during the last meeting this issue of legal expenses associated with projects that have to have site access easements came up, and Chris was the person who provided the communication from DEC confirming that those are in fact eligible. So that's really the only other piece that I had. If people wanted to suggest topics for the next meeting, certainly free to hear those, but given the time, it may be appropriate to have a motion to adjourn.
I would like to make an announcement. I will be resigning from my position effective February 12th, 2026 as DM for Lamoille County Conservation District. So I just want to let you all know, and that will probably affect my position here. And we can have further conversation about that, I guess, Dean, how we move forward with that in the months to come.
You said February 1 of 2026? February 12th.
That's subject to change if it makes it easier for this process as being chair.
That's really sad to hear.
Yeah.
It was a sad and hard decision to make. But I have been very busy with some video and audio work that I'm doing, and it's kind of distracting me, and I'm going to kind of move forward with that. Sort of my passion right now. So that's one of the reasons. There's others, but that's the positive reason.
Well, best of luck to you. And
Yeah, well, we have time to plan a way to celebrate you.
Yeah, no need.
We just need to keep telling us when your shows are happening.
Yeah,
we
I
can all
know.
go to one of your performances.
I need
there
a
you
manager.
go.
That's the other thing. I'm going to get a manager, so that will help.
Love it.
Okay. I don't hear any more discussion of any sort. Shall we hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Excuse me, Peter, do we have
Yes.
a next meeting scheduled yet?
Yes, the next meeting should be on people's calendars, and it would be happening in January, the 4th Thursday. I'm going to pull up my calendar, see what that is. It should.
January 22nd, I have.
Yep, that's what I have.
Thank you.
Okay. And so, Dina, we can talk further about the future in regards to that. Okay, great. All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
I make that motion. This is Erin.
Thank you, Aaron. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Joanne, seconded. All in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
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 All opposed? Whew, never happens. I'm waiting for that day. All right. Well, I'll see you all at least one more time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Yep.
Thank you.
Happy holidays. Thank you.